So stuck in a loop, can't find a way out. Lost in this game, full of fear and doubt. Growing up's hard, it ain't what it seems. Reality's heavy, crushing all my dreams. Tired of the past, need to break these chains. Searching for the light, washing away the stains. All my friends moved on, but I'm standing still. Gotta rise up now, gotta climb that hill. This is my time to grow. Can't let my future
Welcome,
stay
people,
low.
to the first episode of Rico Needs to Grow Up. If you can't tell by the title of the show, I'm Rico, and I, for one, need to grow up. My sister came to me with the idea of a podcast to shed light on people that need enlightening. You know, like myself, I'm 34. I'm not a perfect male. I have things and I have flaws I need myself to work on. And I'm hoping that this podcast can help people who are in my same position who may have not figured everything out at the time that, societal norms say you should figure things out, and who struggle with certain things, whether it be from being a parent to being like fiscally responsible to having your morals intact, or just whatever things you're struggling with. There's a lot of podcasts and a lot of shows about people from the perspective of telling you, oh, this is what you need to do. You need to do this to grow. You need to be in this position. But there's not a lot of people saying, hey, I need advice. I need help. I need to learn from people who have learned things before me. At first, when she brought up the idea of the podcast, and the name Rico Needs to Grow Up, I was like, okay, I got a little defensive. Like, Rico needs to grow up. Who wouldn't? But when you think about it, and I started thinking about my position and myself, I'm like, well, do I need to grow up? Are there some areas that I really do need to improve in? And are there things that I can grow in? And I was like, this is a good idea to do this podcast, actually. And I think it'll help me, and I think it'll help a lot of other people. And I'm very glad that my first ever guest, is a man that I have grown to admire. Even though I haven't told him that a lot, I've grown to admire. He is a preacher. He is a counselor. He is a man of the people. He also is my cousin. We have here Nickalous, and I'm very happy to have you on my first episode, the first inaugural episode, I guess you would say. And how are you doing, my brother? You can introduce yourself. Say
All
what you
right,
need.
man. I'm excited. I'm excited for this Needs to Grow Up, man. Thank you for having me on today.
Thank
This
you.
is one of many things that I take joy in, just to have the opportunity that you will allow me to be in your space and give my lived experience as well as my professional background. I'm excited. And then the fact that we are family, that kind of just tips it off there, that
Exactly.
not only are we speaking into where we have come from, but we're also impacting a generation of men in our family. And so I think this is huge, and I'm glad to be on the first Rico Needs to Grow Up. I too will echo that when I was asked to come on, I was like, is Rico going to be cool with us saying he needs to grow up? But I think that speaks volumes to just perspective for men in general, because as men, we don't mentally develop maturity until our brain matures at the age of 26. So I would say you're somewhere right on the timeline. I just think that sometimes life happens and we don't give that grace, right?
Yeah.
And so a little bit about my background. Am I supposed to do that right now?
Yeah. I was going to say, go ahead and right into your background.
Okay. So my background is, as Rico stated, I am a board certified counselor, Christian counselor, as well as a certified anger resolution therapist, specializing in anger management and grief. I have a background of over 26 years as a lead pastor of a church here in Tyler, and 30 plus years in ministry, just doing leadership role in ministry. I am also a activist in my community, leading organizations called Tyler Together Race Relations. And among all the greatest things that I've ever done, I am a father of three children. And so I'm excited to be on and give my perspective in those realms. So again, thank you for having me today, Kinfolk, and we're gonna rock
No,
with this. I'm excited.
thank you. I don't think there could have been a better guest to start this off with, to have, from the perspective of a male that needs help growing. And you're somebody that I know hasn't just talked the talk, but has also walked the walk. So it's not somebody just on here just spouting off a bunch of stuff, just saying
Right.
stuff. I know everything that you say comes from a place of sincerity and from the heart. I first want to ask you, you brought up, you said the most important thing that you've done in your life is being a father. So the first question I want to ask is about that experience. How has it been being a father? If you want to expel, like, when you became a father, even the differences between, your first child to your third, you know, uh, if you just want to expound on that a little.
Yeah, gladly. So I didn't embrace fatherhood excited because I was a young father. I was 21 when I had my first child.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I didn't embrace it excitingly is because I was the product of a brokenness with
Mm-hmm.
a dysfunction, single parent household. So my dad wasn't active in my life. He was present, but he wasn't active. And when
Mm-hmm.
I say present, I mean I knew who he was and I could identify him in the city I grew up in, but he wasn't just an everyday person. So whenever fatherhood for me began, I embraced it, went into it in a place of fear, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid that I have not had a pattern of this. I don't know what this looks like. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And so I've not had an example of it. And so I embraced it from a place of fear, but then it shifted. And the reason it shifted is because I realized it was my opportunity to do what what I thought was right, what I didn't get, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No,
So
it makes sense.
so with it, it shifted later on in the course of having my kids, and then my first child actually being a son helped me to the place where I was able to see the reflector of what I wanted to be in the earth
Yeah.
whenever I'm leaving, whatever. So that was pretty much, I embraced it from a place of fear initially, but then I accepted it to the place where I had to realize that um opening myself up to being mentored by other men that I thought were good fathers, and then not being afraid to admit that I'm flawed, that I'm not perfect. That was one of the things that allowed me to embrace father, because kids don't come with manuals. So you're gonna mess up, and
Yeah.
to embrace my flaws in that, and just thanking God for grace, man. That's pretty much. But now I realize that it was the greatest work I ever done. Now that
Yeah.
my kids are now, my son is 24, my daughters are 22, and so I now sit back and reflect that that was the greatest investment of my life because a little part of me is still moving about in the earth.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like in the grand scheme of things, and when you're in the midst of making whatever mistakes you're making or doing things, going through trials and tribulations, it's not till later on you realize, "Oh, maybe I didn't do as bad,
Right.
or maybe I didn't make all the mistakes I thought." But I noticed you said when growing up, having a father figure wasn't necessarily something that you had the privilege of having, like a constant father figure. One of the themes of this show is arrested development, and being in a state of arrested development, are things that happen in your childhood, maybe, you know, affecting you in certain ways that you don't really realize until you get older. Do you feel like you dealt with that, having, in a mainly single parent household? Do you felt like there are some things that you had to deal with on your own, or learn on your own, or figure out through, like, alternative methods than what the typical norms would be with the two parent household?
Yeah. Absolutely. I will say too, what encouraged me to even pursue this field of counseling and becoming a
Mm,
therapist was that arrested development, because it stems from emotional and social and cognitive growth, which means
yeah.
that at some points in a person's life there are unresolved traumas, there may be dysfunctional environments, and
Hmm.
so I had all of that growing up. What I think was a dysfunctional environment, which means my mom was a great mom and she's doing the best she could, but with the dysfunction of not having my father there to speak into me and speak what it is to be a man and define manhood and its ups and its downs. So there was the dysfunction there. So I became what I believe a novice in trying to figure out how to survive my dysfunction, right? Or my
Mm,
social unresolved trauma, because I grew up too a lot of times in a generation where we didn't really talk about trauma
yeah.
and mental health and how these things impact you. So I became engulfed in trying to be the best version of a man of what I wanted. Cause I think my generation, we grew up with before his or whatever we thought now we know about Bill Cosby, but Bill Cosby
Yeah.
was to many of us
He was
black
the
boys
yeah.
was he was the epitome of what we thought a father should be, right?
Yeah.
And Claire in our household. And so I just, morphed into this place where I didn't want my trauma to define me. Yes, I had trauma. Yes, it was unresolved. And yes, I did have to deal with the neglect of not having my father in my house in the household. And then my situation, like many young men, especially young men of African American, is
Mhm.
that we have to deal with our fathers having other children, right? And so that feels like neglect. Well, why he neglecting my family? Why he neglecting me? And so having to compartmentalize all of that, I think helps me as a therapist identify one lived experience of what it is to have arrested development, which means what's making me feel like I'm not able to move forward, right? What is my
Mhm.
fight? And that to me is a lot of young men that we deal with. Well, how do I feel like I'm stuck when you've not had an example of what this looks like,
Yeah.
right? And so a lot of times I embrace it by saying, if you don't know what it looks like, you're trying to create your own blueprint of it. And so you hope that in making the blueprint that you are cognitive of what emotional trauma you bringing into other young people's life, which is your kids, or other lives that you're impacting. And you have to really sit in there and say, okay, now to a place where enough is enough, right? I got to
Yeah.
draw the line and I got to define this for myself, because even though my dad is not present, it does not excuse my behavior not to be present with my kids.
Yeah.
And so I dealt with that, especially affection, because my kids wanted to show me affection. And when you are dealing with the development stage of your life and your own traumas, you don't know what affection feels like. You don't know what affection is, especially from a male's perspective. When my son was trying to give me that hugs and all that, I thought, it was, rough up, be tough, be tough. But there's
Yeah.
still a set that he needed from me as a dad to give that nurture to where he's trying to become as a man.
Yeah. It's all about that balance. I definitely understand that. Uh it's hard. It's hard, especially when you are, like you said, a young black man growing up in America, where we're already seen as the enemy, and we're already seen as people who should not succeed to the highest level. And then you don't have, a father figure or that leading figure as a male to guide you to do the things that men should do. So you do get into this cycle of, I'm speaking from my own experience, this cycle of trying to figure out, okay, what is a man? What is a man? What makes a man a man? What separates a man from toxic masculinity? Being a real man, being a father, being somebody active. And it is a lot of trial and error. And I've seen your progress, and I've seen like your process even from afar. We're cousins. I know we don't talk every day, but I see what you do. I admire what you do, and I've seen, you know, um, the growth of your kids from. I remember Nick Jr. when he was a little pup, you know,
Right.
and now seeing him now, seeing your kids now, like it does put in perspective that through the process, if you stay dedicated, if you stay, active, you can end up being, that father on TV. That what we thought Bill Cosby was, on the show.
Right.
So yeah, it definitely is a
I would too say, Rico, one of the things when you say that, it makes me think that I appreciate you sharing that with me, because my initial stand as a man and as a father and as a black man
mm,
is that not so much for just my son and my son's sons and my children's children, but also for my family from a
yeah,
distance, that we will know that, you know, we all come from dysfunction, right? We all
yeah,
got situations that were not favorable for us. However, that does not mean that defines us, right? And even I hope that whenever you continue your journey on this podcast, that you will come across people that will be real, because even in that, when I say that, I went through the fact of not growing up with my dad, but then also I had the flip side of whenever I was married, and then my wife and we divorced, and I was ended up the parent that raising my children. So
mm,
I became the single parent of raising my children, and single parent as a father. That was a nebulous man in
yeah,
society. You know,
yeah,
most times most people say the kids need to be with the mom. But I was so determined again to overcome this arrested development in my own self, and then wanting to break a cycle that even if my wife didn't want to be with me and be in the core of our family, I was
mm,
not going to be the person that lead, right? I was going to
right,
be there in my kid's life. And that didn't necessarily mean I had to be in the household. I just fought to have that level of custody. But
yeah,
it's about showing up and helping develop develop a young person in that critical time of cognitive growth, right? Because
yeah,
we're trying to see, who am I, right? And as a man, I think that's imperative. And so my point was that I is not a pretty picture. My journey to this place right now,
mm,
it has been, when you say you've looked at it from afar, it has been a lot of overcoming dysfunction, right?
yeah,
An environmental dysfunction, and still saying, I'm enough, I'm capable, and I can do it. That was the core, those are my core values. I'm enough, I'm capable, and I can do it. And that became my center focus on getting up in the morning, being the father that I needed to be, being the man that I am. Because as you stated, as black men, we're already scratched when we are born in this skin. Our skin is a threat to many in our society. And so we have to build a core value that I'm enough, I'm capable, and I can do it.
yeah,
And so when you do that, that helps you overcome the mindset of arrested development, being able to feel like that you can't psychologically move out of what is the stereotype.
yeah.
Yeah.
That definitely that's true. That I couldn't have said it like that at all. One thing I want to ask you, you are a huge follower of Christ, a huge believer in Christ. I was wanting to ask you, when did that first spark come hit you when you were like, hey, not only do I not this is something I want to do myself. I want to preach. I want to, you know, get on I want to be in a church preaching the word to people. When did that first spark hit you where it's like, this is something I would love to do?
Well, I would say I didn't embrace it as a love. My faith was the thing that helped me escape my
Mm,
dysfunction. So, as when we're talking about arrested development, so faith was essential to be able to survive. I grew up in a time where, I'm an 80s baby, a 90s kid.
yeah,
So drugs had infested our communities. We had so many things that were oppositions to the success of who you should become as a man. And if you were black and you was not talented as an athlete, or you
yeah.
wasn't talented in something that was going, sky you up, you
Entertainment or
really,
something.
yeah, entertainment or something, you really or limited. And so my faith became my driving force to even graduate high school, man. And so God was always there at the center of it. But when I went off to go to college, my ideal was not to give into preaching. I didn't seek preaching. I didn't think that preaching
Mm,
was something that was my cup of tea. Because my mom, like I said, I didn't have an example of that. Most times
yeah.
people become preachers because they have an example of that. But when God put a calling on your heart,
Mm,
and so it came later on and developed out of a calling that my love for what I do was developed. But I will say my faith has always been the center of it, and faith overcomes my preaching. Because even if I stop preaching tomorrow, I still got my faith.
yeah. That's a great answer. That's a great answer. 1 second. I'm looking at I had some notes. I
You
had
all
some
right?
questions I wanted to ask. Bear with me one
You all
second.
right?
Okay. So I have a couple questions. We've talked about, arrested development a lot. This is another question that's kind of leading on to that. So with everything that you've told me about arrested development, about growing up, and you being a professional in this field, what do you think would be the main factors that would influence a person to being stuck like in arrested development? Like, do you think that there are like core factors, things that maybe across the board would be something that, oh, these are the things that would put somebody into arrested development? Or do you think it's more of a thing that is case by case basis?
No, I would agree that there are times where a person is emotionally stuck or socially stuck,
Yeah.
that it stops growth. It stunts the growth. And in order to get unstuck, you use the example this oftentimes when I'm sharing with men that are maybe I'm offering counseling to or giving pastoral care to. Most of us can identify with being in a hole, right? You're
Mm,
in a hole, and the thing about being in that hole is dark in that hole. There's no light in that hole, and there's no resources to get out of that hole. There's no rope, there's no ladder, there's nothing that really tells you how to get out of that hole. And so you feel stuck, you feel trapped. All of those emotions that you feel, they're absolutely real, right? However, what how do you get out of that? And what you're asking me in that moment is what I share is you got to be creative. What so a man thinks, so is he. And so even if there is absolutely no resources in that hole, what you have been given as a man by God is ability to think. And we can think our way out of a crisis. We can think our way out, and we can become creative in figuring out how to get out of dysfunction and how to survive an environment that's trying to marginalize you, that's trying to say that you are stereotypical black man. We got to be creative. And so I encourage us as men, especially as African American men, we have to tap into our creativity.
yeah.
Uh, and we have a lineage of men that maybe they're not all recorded, but there are a few of that are recorded when they came into success. They had to be creative. And so that's the thing that will help you get out of an emotional or social feeling emotionally or socially stuck because of the dysfunctions of your life. You got to be creative. I think that what you're doing right now, this is creative to the place where, yeah, I want to reach somebody, I want a target audience, but I'm also reaching myself, and I'm
Yeah.
also helping other men or other young people realize that at some point you're going to have to grow up. And it was the same thing that I told my children. I told them when they turn 18, nobody's coming to parent you.
Yeah.
Nobody's coming to tell you to wake up and get yourself together. At 18, you got to parent yourself. You got to get up and you got to tell yourself, I got to do this. I got to pay this. I've got to put this here. I've got to save this. You got to
Hmm.
do that. And because nobody's going to come, and you shouldn't expect somebody to come when it's your time to do what you got to do for yourself. And
Yeah.
that's being creative. And the creativity will help you get out of a state of being stuck.
I got stuck, and I'm very glad you said that because I got stuck in that state for a long time. And you don't like you get stuck by, once you turn 18 by not doing those things, by not,
Mhm.
learning to save money, by not learning to take care of the responsibilities you need to take care of and just growing up. You get stuck in this state of feeling comfortable and you know years pass by, then boom, you're 30 and you're trying to figure it out. And that's another reason why I wanted to do this, because it's like not a lot of people want to admit to being
Yeah.
stuck because it's
Yeah.
embarrassing, or because
True.
they want to look a certain way or want to like portray themselves to be this when it's not all the way that.
Hmm.
And I don't want to always be that person. I don't want if I could help myself change, and that means putting myself, my own flaws on Front Street, and that could help
Yeah.
other people be like, hey, it's okay. Like he's dealing with this too. It's okay if I can admit I'm dealing with this. I'm hoping that that's what can lead from this.
Me
Not
too.
only me growing myself, but other young black men. And we keep, saying young black men. Do you think that arrested development is a thing that happens more with black men, or people of more of like a socioeconomic status, like a lower income people, or do you think it happens more with black and brown people as opposed to white people? I wondered that because I know, on the opposite end, you can get stuck in arrested development by having too much.
No, that's where I would say, like what you said earlier, that's a case by case.
Yeah,
I think we speak from our perspective. So that's why we say men and black men, because that's who we are.
yeah,
But I think that there are some women that may be dealing with arrested development. In fact, I know that I dealt with those type of clients that just feel socially, emotionally stuck. And like you said, even with having too much, that's where we have to balance, right? We got to
yeah,
create a healthy balance, and healthy balance come with establishing healthy boundaries. And I
yeah,
think that's one thing that if you're not clear on your boundaries, it's easy to get caught up in that structure of feeling stuck and I'm
yeah.
not moving forward because you don't have boundaries.
I agree with that. If you don't have boundaries, it can be just as detrimental as having the strictest boundaries, in the wrong situation.
And I think too is what I'm appreciating for this moment is that we don't have conversation. And I think that's what brings this shifting from me from the perspective as a pastor. I'm able to preach to the people, but
Yeah,
oftentimes we miss the conversation, right? And
yeah,
that when you have the conversation piece, it's more effective in this. I said 25 years, I've learned how to be a good preacher, and I know good preachers, and I know good people that can, man, they can speak and they can blow the top off of a roof
yeah,
with their ability to preach, but they lack the ability to offer pastoral care.
yeah,
And pastoral care is conversation. It's engaging with your people. It's meeting people where they are. And
yeah,
I think that's where a lot of times the church is on an offset moment is because we don't know how to meet people where they are in conversation. And so, and even in our culture, we don't have the best conversation. And that's what comes with our dysfunction. And that's why sometimes you get, oh, that's an angry black woman, or that's a mad black man,
yeah,
because we don't know how to have conversations. And when we get them, our voices may elevate. We may get a little emotional, but that
yeah,
just doesn't mean that we are upset. It's just we're trying to navigate conversation in a dysfunction, right?
yeah,
And so I think that you giving a platform to this opportunity is really good. And the fact that when you hear the term, you need to grow up, first thing comes to person mind, man, I'm offended by that. Why are you telling me that? But that's a conversation piece that if we have healthy conversation, we all have had seasons of our life where we had to face that truth. I got to grow up because ain't nobody coming to tell me to go pay my light bill.
yeah,
Nobody's coming to tell me to pay my mortgage. Nobody's coming to tell me go to the doctor and check on my health.
yeah,
You have to do that. That's a part of being grown. That's a part of maturity.
yeah. I agree, and I had to. And I'm still learning that. I'm still learning that every day. But I rather learn it and feel that little tinge of embarrassment, or feel that little tinge of like dang, I need to grow up, than let my ego or my pride end me eventually. I don't want to end up, being somebody that is on my deathbed with a bunch of regrets, a bunch of things I didn't do, a bunch of things I wish I would have did, you know. So people, and what are if you have any off the top of your head, a couple things that you would think. I know you said being creative. When people are in that spot, in that hole, or feeling like, what are some things I need to do? Do you have any other things that you could relay? Was like, hey, this might help you on your journey to getting out of this hole. To
So I have one really, 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 I believe in simplicity, right?
hmm
So if you're in the hole, help. you got to say something, right? You got to say something. Help. I think that as we talk about, 'cause that comes from that embarrassment of pride. The Bible even says pride goeth before a haughty fall. And if you're there, if you're trapped, if you are stuck, or don't act out in your anger, because then you become manic, or
Yeah.
and that's what happens or you become depressed, because you can't change, and circumstantially you can't change it if you're in the hole. You can't change it if you don't have the resources, but you can say, help me. And then when help come, don't be offended how help shows up. And I think that's a little thing sometimes,
Yes.
I'm generationally, like even my kids' generation, and maybe veered into your generation a little bit, and even mine. When we have a people who are so easily offended, you can be somebody coming to help you, and you offended on the way they coming at you,
Yeah.
but they only coming to help you. And they may not come as being nice or kind, but they are still offering help. So I think one thing is be creative. Second thing is say help. I need some help. And when you acknowledge that, help will come. And then the third thing I would say is, in order to get out of a place of being stuck and being emotionally staying there, is that you have to have acknowledgement. Got to acknowledge where you are. Because if you don't acknowledge that I'm in this hole, then you will say that this hole is normal, and it's not normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal to be in a place of isolation. It's not normal to be in a place of emotional dysfunction. And I think that if you don't acknowledge what it is, you can't change what you don't acknowledge.
That's a beautiful answer, man. You came with it today. You came with it today. You came with it today. I just got one more question, and this is just a personal question. What is something that you could give to me personally? You knowing me, and knowing, I don't know if you known everything I've gone through in my life, but I know you know some things, and maybe seen some things. What is something that you could give to me personally to be like, hey, Rico, this will help you? And it could be a brutal honesty. It could be anything that you think would help me on my road to becoming just a better man, just for me personally.
What I would offer you, Rico, is me, a man. I think that it's easy to say, I see you, but I don't know how to be in conversation with you. And I think this is huge for me and you, because we don't know how to interact with what we've not had. And that could be even from male friends to male brothers
Yeah.
to male uncles. If we never had that sense of engagement, because there are things, and we love our female cousins, our female sisters, our female moms, well, all that, but they are limited on certain things that they can give us as a man. So I would say to Rico, in this next chapter of your life, while I'm still in the earth, use me. Whatever I can do to help you when it's something that you don't understand, or you feeling stuck, or you feeling emotionally drained about, why can't I do this, or why I'm always blocked in this area. Let's reach out. Let's link up. Let's connect. Let's have those conversations that maybe we can't have on the air, that need to have continued conversation off the air.
Yeah.
But I would say for you, what can I offer you is me, your cousin.
I
Yeah.
appreciate the answer. And it's crazy you say that, because there's been a few moments where, and it's odd, because I've wanted to reach out to you, and because I don't have a lot of older, I don't have people that are not my peers, that are males that I could talk to be like, hey, how can I do this? What do I do to fix this? I talk to Mama and Chauncey and Tiffany about this, but they don't understand the male perspective with this. And I wanted to reach out to you because you're one of the few males that I know personally that I'm like, I can lean on this person for advice. But it's always been something that's like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say, hey, Nick, because I've never come to you like that. I've never like, how do I need help? I appreciate Tiffany for setting this up and making sure you were the first, because I do think it'll help me a lot. And I appreciate you saying that, because now I feel more open to being like, hey, can I get your advice on this? Or hey, how do you feel about this? And I think that that could actually help. So I really do appreciate you saying that, seriously.
Yeah, and that accountability can work on my end too, as being the older cousin, to reach back and just check in. Just say, hey, what's going on? Because sometimes it's not always easy to ask for help from somebody that has not been able to say, hey, on a good day, what's going on? How you doing? You good? Let's
Yeah,
go eat some tacos, or whatever the case may be.
yeah,
So I'll do my part, but I would say to you, just use me as being help, whatever way, man. Resource, help, talk, ear, or even if I can meet that need. As I tell all the time, people say, oh, I love you, I love you. Okay, I know you love me, but I'm sitting at home and I'm hungry and I need a loaf of bread.
yeah,
And I need to know that if I say I'm hungry, you're going to do what you got to do to help me get that bread. And as much as we can chop it up on that end, but can you help me meet my need? And if you can't help me get the bread, can you help me find out how I can get it for myself?
yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I was excited to do this, but I think this ended up being even better than I thought it was gonna be. I appreciate being able to speak with you and being able to get these words out of you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna Facebook or something. I think in that text, I got your number. I'm gonna definitely hit you up. We gotta chop it up off screen for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was there anything else that you wanted to say? Any other words that you wanted to add before we get off this thing here?
Okay. No, I just thank you for letting me come apart. I'm excited to see this new journey and how it's going to unfold for you. And like you say, I'm going to keep watching from a distance. And hey, Rico, it's going to be chopped. It's going to change from needs to grow up is Rico grown now.
Hey, I like that. I like that. That's what we're working on. That's what we're working on,
All
man.
right.
Hey, man, my brother, I love you. Thank you for
I love
coming.
you too, man.
Thank you for
All
coming.
right.
I'm gonna have you on again. We're gonna set up. Be sure Tiffany gonna figure out something. We're gonna figure it
Yeah.
out though. But
Okay.
thank you for
Well,
coming, man.
y'all call me if you need me. I love you. Take
For
care.
sure. Love you.
Bye.
All right. That has been, my phone went dead, so I can't really, my producer is in the other room. My phone went dead, so I can't hear it. But that has been the first episode of Rico Needs to Grow Up. I hope everybody has gotten something from it. I hope everybody that sees this takes a little bit of something from what we had, the conversation that we had. I hope everybody has a great day. I hope everybody is in the mindset to grow, and we'll see you on the next episode.